Here is the solution for day 3. Use your graphing calculator statistic features to generate an equation for the best fit line for the following data. If we were to graph these dots, it would create a scatter plot, and the dots would sort of line up in a straight line. We would then draw in a diagonal line that best fit the pattern of those dots, and we'd want to find the equation of that diagonal line. The calculator can do that for us. We're going to use the statistics feature, which is the stat button. So push stat. Next, we want choice 1, where we're going to edit the values in a list of numbers. Now, if your calculator has empty columns here, then you're all set to type in the numbers. I have some old data in here that I need to remove. I can use my cursor key and the delete key to individually remove all of the numbers in those two columns. My other option is to use the clear list feature, which you would want to do if there's a lot of numbers in there to delete. So push stat, choice 4 is clear list, and then you need to tell it which lists to clear. If you paid attention to the top of those columns, they were called L1 and L2, meaning list 1 and list 2. Notice how in blue ink, button number 1 says L1, and in blue ink, button number 2 says L2. Those are the names of the lists that we want to clear. So push the second key and then L1, then push comma, which is located right above the 7. And now go second, L2. This is going to clear those two lists. Push enter. It tells us it's done. Now when we push stat and do choice 1 edit, you'll notice that these columns are empty and ready to receive numbers. So we want to input the numbers that are given in our chart. Start with your X values, 0, then the down arrow, 1, down arrow, 3, down arrow, 4, down arrow, and 7. Then use the right arrow to hop to the next column, list 2. Use list 2 to keep track of your Y values, 58, down arrow, 60, down arrow, 61, down arrow, 63, down arrow, and 68. We've inputted the ordered pairs into the calculator. Now we want to have the calculator tell us the equation for the best fit line. So push stat and go to the calculate menu. There are many things that it can calculate. We are interested in what's called a linear regression, and that's choice 4. It asks us what data we want to use to do the linear regression. Our X values were L1 and our Y values were contained in L2. If for some reason these list names don't match the correct columns, then change them to the columns that contain your numbers. My calculator has the correct two lists, so I'm going to cursor down to the word calculate and push enter. Here on the screen is the linear equation for the line that best fits the dots. This is telling us to follow the slope-intercept form pattern, and it tells us what number to replace for A and what number to replace for B. So the equation the calculator is telling us is Y equals 1.36, repeating, X plus 57.9. Our answer is done. Now you don't have to show any of the rest of this on your bell work. But let me show you the scatter plot that goes with the dots. I'm going to push second and then the Y equals key, which is also the stat plot key. And for plot number 1, I'm going to push enter to turn it on. Then push enter again so that the word on is highlighted. For the type of graph, I'm choosing scatter plot, which is the top left out of my 6 graph choices. It already has list 1 and list 2 as the list that we're getting the data from. Now push graph. Nothing shows up, and that's not a surprise. Think about what our Y values were in the data table. 58, 60, 61. Our Y-axis only counts up to 5, so any dots are way off the top of the screen. So we're going to go zoom and then scroll down to choice 9, zoom stat, zoom statistics. This tells the calculator to automatically zoom so that every dot in our scatter plot shows up on the screen. we can see that there is some line with a positive slope that best fits these dots. We figured out the equation of the line. Let me push y equals. And for y1, type in that equation that we figured out. I can't put 6 repeating, but I can type in several 6's. And then x plus 57.9. Now when I push graph, it will draw a diagonal line within those scatterplot dots. This is called the line of best fit, also known as a regression line.